Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Wednesday evening to you all. Hope you guys are feeling well out there, having yourselves a great Wednesday and a great week as we're halfway through it, getting a little bit closer to that weekend, which we're all grateful and thankful for. Got you an update on what it is looking like the rest of the month. We're gonna try to talk about what we do know. I'm watching one system that could influence a lot of people's weather, and then I'm watching another system that could be sneaky off the coast of the eastern U.S. That we're still trying to figure out what it's going to do. It's been something that hasn't been talked about a lot. I'm not expecting it to be a big deal, but it could potentially bring some rain, some beneficial rain to certain areas. So we're going to talk about how much rain we could potentially get between now and the end of the month. Are we seeing any kind of cold shots, big warm-ups, severe weather events? We're going to talk about what we do know, but we're not going to get very detailed with anything in this video because we really can't, and there's still some disagreements with some models. So this video is not going to be very long. I'm going to give you very surface information, but we're going to talk about what we do know. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. It goes a long way, guys, and I really appreciate you guys' support over these things. Over these slower times, things have certainly slowed back down. So I really appreciate people who continue to tune in. If you guys got anything that I can pray about, pray over, please put those in those comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it. Gives others an opportunity to do so too. So let's get rolling here. Not going to keep you guys long this evening, but we'll talk about a couple things. One thing is that right now, most of the U.S. is pretty quiet. You're still dealing with the lake effect moisture tonight. Some areas are seeing some snow, some areas just a cold rain. It has been a very chilly rain if you live in the far southern regions of Florida. Very uncommon weather, even for October standards down here, where cold fronts don't typically clear this time of the year. Typically, it's a little bit later. And I really say that. I don't live in Florida, but I feel comfortable saying that because I've seen all over Twitter, the weather world today, saying that this is unseasonably early for a cold front making it all the way down to Miami. So the way that it's kind of stalled and you've just had some prefrontal moisture mixed in with the dry, cool air. I mean, you guys have been trapped in the 50s and 60s today, deep down in keep wanting to say Texas or Tennessee, deep down in Florida. I have no idea because F and T do not go together whatsoever. But anyways, deep down in Florida, there certainly have been some cooler temperatures, like fall temperatures you would see like in Ohio Valley or something. So it's pretty wild to see. But anyways, going forward here, the next 6 to 10 days, well, this is the 6 to 10 day range. So this is the 25th through the 29th. And notice it's switched. Now you're talking about below average temperatures in the west, the potential for some above average temperatures in the east. So it looks like we're going to warm up. But keep in mind, I'm not expecting any kind of massive warm up. You know, your average highs, for example, here in Columbia, South Carolina, your average high is around 75, 76 for this time of the year. Average low is somewhere in the low 50s. So, you know, the high today was 61 degrees. The low was 33. That is well below average. So just think of it as we're going to get to more average late October conditions, which for most of the country is nice fall weather. So just because you see these oranges and reds, that doesn't mean it's going to be in the 80s or 90s, guys. It's just going to be maybe a few degrees above average in this time frame, maybe the last few days of October for this time of the year. So which is still nice for this time of the year. In fact, once you start to get to late October, for a lot of folks, your average highs and lows are just downright chilly. I would say late October is a lot different than early October temperature-wise. You know, the daylight changes, your average and highs and lows go down pretty significantly, and things are just a lot more different compared to the early part to the late part of the month. But let's talk about what the GFS is showing, then we'll look at the European. The GFS, going forward, one thing we'll watch is this weekend. A coastal system right here, this is getting into, you know, Saturday and Sunday, could potentially bring at least some cloud cover for the eastern Carolinas. But the jury is still out whether this coastal low, if you will try to bring some moisture into eastern sections of the Carolinas, Virginia, and then the Delmarva area, and then eventually create a pretty soggy Sunday, maybe into Monday, for the Northeast and New England, folks like that. We need to watch this. Either way, I don't expect this to be a big weather maker, just something we need to watch. there was an idea that this could potentially become some kind of tropical system, but since then, it just doesn't look like it's going to have tropical characteristics with it. Next thing we watch is a big frontal boundary. This is basically when it gets colder out west. There's going to be a boundary in the middle of the country where you're going to have pieces of energy that ride south to north, if you will, this boundary, if you will, this trough that's going to slowly be trying to inch its way to cool the central and eastern U.S. back down. As it does that, you're going to have pieces of energy like this. This is getting into next week. That's going to shoot and kind of ride up and then, go back northeast, start off southwest and go northeast. And this could bring some storm systems. Are we talking snow? No. Now, maybe some snow way up here in the north central U.S., but with these kind of setups, you got to watch for them to bring up a big moist sector. Sometimes they can have some kind of low-level jet, low-level winds that are supportive for severe weather. And you just got to watch severe weather. This is that time of the year, we call it a secondary severe weather season, where you can have storm systems with the changing of the system, the clashing of the air masses that could promote severe weather. So, for example, in the GFS, we'll watch this midweek. And see what it does in the Northeast. And we just got to see what happens here. The European, what does it show? Same kind of scenario. We got to watch what this does right in here this weekend. This will try to inch north, bring some moisture maybe into eastern North Carolina, eastern areas, basically the I-95 corridor. Could bring some light to moderate rain and potentially be a heavy rain event. We just have to watch. Now we look up here. Now the Euro on the tropical tidbits only shows rain, but this is close to being some snow up here. But we watch this system, and here comes that frontal boundary, and here comes another system. But I can tell you the Euro and the GFS are much different. And really why is because if you look at temperatures off the GFS, for example, we'll start this off Friday. Notice we're warming up in the southeast. It's starting to warm up in the Ohio Valley, even all the way up into the Midwest. I mean, you're climbing close to 80 degrees. Still got a nice return flow, keeping you guys cool in the mornings for the eastern U.S. And then we start to warm up. We're getting into next Monday. We'll stop it here. Look at this big frontal boundary where there's cold air over here in the middle of the country, warm air all the way up to Canada. So you folks that saw several inches of lake effect snow could be in the 70s next week. So a big warm up. You're going to get well above average temperatures. But look at this kind of moving boundary, this moving cold front. For example, you stop this Tuesday if the GFS is correct. The western half of Michigan in the 50s, the eastern half in the 70s. So the latest GFS wants to dig this and cool us back down by the time we get to this time next week. And when we have a big time cold front again, sub-freezing temperatures, and we're doing this all over again where we're very chilly the last several days of October per the GFS. Now, we'll go all the way to the end of the month, and, it stays relatively mild. Now, the European is a little bit different. Same kind of situation in the beginning. You'll warm up. Saturday looks warm. Sunday looks warm. I mean, you're getting some 90-degree readings in Texas. And here comes that frontal boundary as we get into Monday. We're getting into Tuesday at this point. And it looks like it clears, but then it begins to stall out somewhere in here. And then you're stuck with just a pretty average fall pattern as far as temperatures, average temperatures. You're chilly in the north central U.S., just 60s for highs in the Ohio Valley, and then 70s, maybe some 80s for the deep south. So in general, you look at this and you say, okay, the Euro does not have a East Coast clearing cold front the last several days of October like the GFS does. In fact, the Euro, I would say, is probably around average temperatures to a little bit above average temperatures. So it's just something we need to watch. That's why I told you, it's still a big question. We're watching that cold front. Maybe next week, another cold front. But what is it going to do? Is the GFS going to be right or the Euro going to be right? I think either way, it's going to clear areas of the central U.S. But as far as the eastern U.S., not sure. But I can tell you, this is rain between now and around the 30th. Off the national blend of all models. If you were to look at this and say, hey, call for what it is, this is exactly what's going to happen, there's some areas that might not get another drop of rain throughout the rest of the month. October is a very dry month, but we're hoping this is not true because we're already getting dry again here in the Carolinas and Georgia. It seems like since fall started, we've only had really rain in two events. One being some event that happened in September, early September. Another was Ian. And then we had an event a couple weeks ago. So three events. Three rain events since the beginning of September, pretty much. That's it. Now we've gotten a lot of rain in each event, but it's just not getting rationed out very well. It's coming in lump sums. So this is how much rain could potentially fall between now and the 30th of October. I might as well say through the rest of October. It's looking like you're in a good spot if you're in Arkansas, Missouri, the Mississippi Valley. It looks like with this frontal stall, you will have systems that move through this area. You almost want to watch out for too much rain. Now you look at the south central U.S., it looks like your rain's going to cut off in this region, so we'll watch out for that. But it looks like, the eastern areas in the middle of the country, if that makes sense, of the southern plains could get a lot of rain, but then the western areas could potentially not get a lot of rain. You look up here in the northeast, really the most rain will fall really over the next 24 to 48 hours. And then you got to watch this coastal system, which is what all this rain right here is showing up of. But anywhere in between could get in a little dry stretch. Areas of Pennsylvania, Maryland, watch out. Maybe a little bit of dry stretch coming up. And then you look at the upper Midwest. I think you guys will get a healthy amount of moisture over basically the rest of the month. So we'll watch. I don't see anything crazy, anything flashy, any early season major winter storms. I am watching the Rockies. Looks like they're going to have their first big-time winter storm of the 2022 cold season, maybe next week sometime. We're really watching that. I might make a video on that. I know, guys, I don't talk a lot on the West, but I might break that down for you guys. But we'll watch that. But other than that, that's pretty much what I'm seeing right now through the rest of October. So things could change. There's a little bit of a talk in the weather community about maybe a severe weather event next week, but nothing concrete, nothing set in stone. So that's all I got, guys. Y'all have a blessed night, and I'll talk to you in the morning.